on what inspired you to adapt that healthy and fit lifestyle. What made you do that change?
I wouldn't even necessarily call it a change for me. I grew up pretty active my entire life. I was a competitive dancer and a competitive cheerleader, pretty much from the age of 2 when I started dancing ballet in my little tutu. To honestly, until my senior year of high school, and I was supposed to actually dance for the Cleveland Cavaliers,
Wow.
and till I found out that this mom was pregnant. So at the early age of 19. Wouldn't change it for the world, but it definitely changed my life. However, going into my personal background, obviously I was pregnant early. So for me, it was a goal of mine to make sure that I was able to maintain a decent weight. I wanted to stay healthy and active throughout my entire pregnancy. Keep in mind that was 12 years ago. Crazy to think that, yes. But anyways, I pretty much stayed active. I didn't gain too much weight with her. As soon as I had my daughter, I got right back into the gym. The YMCA always had a daycare. And keep in mind, at this point, I didn't even know bodybuilding existed. In 2009, it really hadn't been as big as it is now, unfortunately for me. I wish it would have been. I feel like I would have been able to develop so much more, so much quicker, but it just wasn't. But I still, I looked up to my mom a lot. My mother was a gymnast, very competitive gymnast. She was super, super good. She has been fit and active her entire life. I mean, I don't even remember a day that I remember as far back as her running along the beach in San Diego with me in a stroller to the point where I was 4 years old and sitting on her stomach while she did abs.
Wow.
And now here I am 31 years old and still watching her wait. I mean, she lifts weights, she runs, she stays very active, and it has been extremely motivating for me, even as an early mother at 18, to say, you know what, it's possible. My mom's had 3 kids and looks great, so she's always been a big inspiration to me. I don't even think she knows that, so I hope she gets to watch this. And then pretty much from there, honestly, I married my husband and I had another baby at the early age of 21. But we just kind of wanted to, I mean, I already had a baby, a daughter. So we kind of figured, we kind of wanted to keep them close in age. And I had already been a young mother and he was working and had a great job. So I was able to be stay at home with them. Now, because of that, I actually gained a lot of weight with my second one. Unfortunately, that was a really big surprise to me. With my first one, I only gained like 15, 20 pounds. And then my second one, I gained 60. Yes. Okay. So with that being said, it was, a nightmare for me personally. I never thought I was going to get my body back. I went through all the emotions, anything and everything you can think of. And like I said, keep in mind, bodybuilding still wasn't even a thing to me. Didn't know about it. I wasn't able to just, you know, do something like that during pregnancy. Like you see so many amazing fit mothers do now. I give them all credit and they look, it's amazing to me to see how many pregnant women are out there really kicking ass and staying super motivated. But I essentially did a lot of those stay at home mom videos. And I lost a ton of weight and I looked great and everything. And then my husband in 2011 joined the military. And PCS, we ended up, our very first duty station was the United Kingdom, so England. That being said, England was amazing. It was everything and anything I could have imagined it would have been. We had fantastic experiences. And one of those, many of those fantastic experiences were food. Going overseas, you want to try new things. You travel, you eat, you try all the awesome, sweets and treats and crumpets and scones and candies and everything you can think of, okay? I gained like 30 pounds in the first 6 months that I was there. Didn't work out. Didn't, I mean, I just stayed home with my kids, traveled, had fun with the family, obviously, but I really just, at that point in time, I didn't realize how I'd let myself go. I essentially then gained another 10 pounds on top of that 30. And I was just not looking good. It got to the point where I was very self conscious, insecure, depressed, all of these things. And one day, just out of nowhere, I decided that was it. Never again in my life will I ever allow myself to feel that way because that was in my control and no one else's. No one was making me do anything. That was me. And that's the kind of person that I am. I'm a competitor. I stay motivated, and when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I pride myself in that. Something I've just, I think you're just built that way. Some people are just built that way. And I met some really amazing women in England. We had these, like, because we're military. And one thing about the military is we are family, especially overseas when you're stuck on an island and you really, I mean, you're pretty much all we got. And I joined a mom's running club and I joined a mom's hit club, and I'd bring my kids and we would swap, and it's just great. And I developed, I think, at that point in time in my life, a passion for fitness. I mean, I'd always been fit and an athlete, but dancing and cheerleading and gymnastics, that kind of stuff is completely different than anything else. So they introduced me to this HIIT. It's called high intensity interval training. Obviously, most people know a HIIT class. And I went in there. They did ball slams. I learned how to do lunges properly, squats properly, all of these things. And it was insane watching my body change. I then started incorporating a clean diet, and I had to switch, just flip at that point. I had not been necessarily in the weight room until about a year later, which was also the year that we left England and moved to Montana. And when I left England, I would literally, okay, I wanted to figure out weight training so bad. But this was still kind of a point where you weren't seeing a lot of women in the gym. It was just all men. And that is super intimidating to females, especially females that don't know what the hell they're doing. And then also being insecure with our physique and our strength. And it was just it was definitely for me very challenging to overcome. And I was too shy to ask for help and all of that stuff. And so I would literally bring my cell phone, because at the time you're still using iPods. Weird. And you would so weird. Anyway, so I would set up my phone and literally Google, like, or bodybuilding.com. I'd get my workout and I'd have to watch the YouTube clips on how to literally do everything. I mean, it was the only way that I would literally spend 4 hours in the gym and probably worked out for like an hour and a half because I did YouTube everything. I didn't know what I was doing ever. Nobody was ever polite enough to offer me help, ask for help. So one thing, jumping a little bit forward, that I always do is I make sure to make that I reach out to people in the gym. I make sure, do you need a spot? Do you need help? Especially women, for sure, women. And it is amazing to me how much they appreciate it. But because that didn't happen to me, I make sure that, like, that's something I do now. But long story short, I moved to Montana not long after that. And I, at that point, was seeing more women in the gym. I don't know if it's because I was in the United States at this point. That I don't know. If it maybe just in Europe, it just wasn't as big at the time. But I get to the United States, and I mean, there's just these soldier, or I'm sorry, these airmen. All of them are like working out, like training, working out, lifting weights, and it was so awesome because I met one or two women, specifically to this day, who it was really cool for me because I then finally did not feel shy to ask for help. I finally felt like, oh my gosh, there's people like me. I'm not by myself in this. And I remember seeing this one girl, and I just was so infatuated with her physique. She was just so beautiful, still is beautiful. Her shoulders, her legs, her stomach. I just kept telling myself, what do I need to do to look like you? How do I get there? Which is a question I get to this day about me all the time too. And it's so awesome how I could relate and say, guess what? I've only looked like this for like 3.5 years, not all my life. So, she kind of took me under her wing a little bit. She did. She took me under her wing. She taught me a lot of stuff. I finally learned proper form. I properly learned how to weight train in about, you know 6 months, constantly with her or with somebody else that would help. Even my husband in Montana had more time to come and train with me. In England, he just, his schedule was really difficult to help me. And I'm not even making this up. Like, it's insane to me, even thinking about it now. My body transformed in a matter of 12 to 16 weeks. It started to just like do something. It was like doing something. I mean, at the time, I literally just looked like a mom that ran a lot to lose weight. So I was kind of frumpy, who tried to weight lift to, but the muscles were tightening up, but they weren't really shaping up because I didn't know what I was doing. To all of a sudden, this chick works out. Like, going to the school to drop my kid off and like, man, what do you do? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I wouldn't see that. And then I started to see my body just transform. And I couldn't believe that it all stemmed from just having someone show me like what to do. Like, even to this day, one of my great friends, Lindsay, which got a great chance to be on your
Yes.
podcast, to this day, I mean, I'm an advanced bodybuilder, and her and I get together, and she'll still have, we still have things we could teach each other. I wasn't doing hammer curls, I wouldn't necessarily properly, but I wasn't doing them the way that suited me in order to grow. And I would wonder, Lindsay, oh my gosh, I don't know why, but I just can't get my arms to grow. She's like, well, what are you doing wrong? I'm like, I don't know. So it just kills me to know just how important that is. And it's, I amazes me every day. And honestly, this is a crazy story for me. I'm definitely one of those few far and in between that you're going to run into. You'll have a lot of your guests probably, and a lot of people who have been bodybuilding all their life or doing something all their life or even like 7, 10 years. But for me, I started realizing that, and the girl that introduced me to bodybuilding was a figure competitor. And I, would watch her pose, and she was so beautiful. Keep in mind, I was a dancer. So to me, I get goosebumps even thinking about it now, because I honestly thought after I had my babies, I would never find anything to fill that place in my heart again. It like makes me tear up a little bit, because I remember thinking to myself, I feel so lost. I love being a mother. I love being a wife, but something's missing. I don't feel happy all the time. Something was just missing for me. And when I saw her for the first time, I remember it like it was yesterday, just doing her figure. She was posing, and just her shoulders and her small waist, and she just looks in heels and looks so elegant and gorgeous. And she it's just like I instantly was like, I want to do that. I want to do what you do. What are you doing? And I remember asking her, like, what are you doing? I had not seen that in my life. I didn't, I mean, I'm 31. You have to keep in mind, this is just a few years ago. I was late 20s, and I had not seen this before. Unlike some people who've been following even Lindsay, she gets a kick out of me because she's so like knowledgeable in bodybuilding, and she knows all these people and their stories. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm still new to the game. Teach me all you know. I'm an open book teacher. I mean, I'm like, I want to like learn. Here I am, 27, and just now, like, just at that moment, at 27 years old, like at that moment was like finally felt like I found something for me. I mean, I've always been a mom and a wife and a friend and a daughter and a sister and all of the above, which I loved, but there was still just something I wasn't doing for myself. Because bodybuilding is very selfish. And I think you have to be in the right place in your life to even be able to do it. I don't think I could have done it at a young age, young when my kids were babies. Anyway, so I'm getting sidetracked. I saw her posing, and specifically that day, I knew that's what I was gonna do. So my story is that exact year. Okay. First of all, she was so sweet. It's not often these days you find people who are willing to just kind of take you under their wings for free, which is why, it's really important to me. Like, if I see someone who wants to learn, just come talk to me. Let's pose. Because I remember, like, I wouldn't have been able to afford someone to teach me how to pose or train me, but to just have someone to say, hey, and I did return that favor later on. I took a girl under my wing, taught her a lot of what she knows, and man, she's just flying too. I'm so proud of her. But anyways, in that moment, I said, okay, what show are you doing? And she's like, it was she told me she was going to be doing Big Sky Championships in Montana. I said, when is it? And she said, actually, it's pretty far away. I'm about, it's about like 16 weeks out or so. I won't really start prepping, which at the time I'm like, what are you talking about prepping? Don't you just get on stage the way you look? No, I'm just kidding. But, and I was like, I want to do it. And she's like, what? I'm like, why not? I'm like, I want to do it. What do I gotta do? And I think she was laughing because it's like, you don't just do it. Like, you don't just do it. Like, you don't just, I'm like, okay, tell me what to do. I want to learn. I want to get on stage. And I remember I went home and I told my husband. He thought it was hilarious. He was like, "What the?" He was like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" So keep in mind, this is all within a 2-year time span from when I lived in England, running, hit, training a little bit, to about 6 months, almost a year in Montana. And then she tells me she's doing this show. And I went home, told my husband I was going to do it. And he was like, kind of laughed at me, like I said. But, anyways, from that point forward, I remember ordering my heels. Thank God I didn't have to wear those more than once. Whew. Anyways, I remember, oh God, that was a nightmare. So, anyways, I ordered my heels and I ordered the super, super cheap suit because my husband was like, "You're going to do this. You don't even know how you're going to do. Like, we're not spending a ton of money. Just do it for the experience because you're Tina and that's just what you do." I'm like, if I say I'm going to do something, I freaking do it. Even if I don't think I'm going to win, if I commit and I say I'm doing something, like, I'm going to do it. So, anyways, I remember I started training harder. I went to the gym. I didn't tell anybody because at the time I didn't, to myself, I wasn't going to drop out, but secretly I didn't know if I was going to chicken out. So I didn't want people to know. And then I would feel like, just dumb for dropping out. Cause I don't ever want to be that girl who just drops out of everything. So I within, no, not even kidding, within, like, I did a 12-week prep because something interesting about me is I've actually never done anything longer than a 14-week prep, which is interesting. However, this year, which we can touch base later, what my plans are, that's going to be different. I'm going to be doing a 22-week prep,
Wow.
which I am very nervous about. So, no, not really. I'm actually really looking forward to it. Bulking's kind of overrated. It's like, it's not
Hmm.
that fun to eat like crap. Then you feel like crap. So, anyways, 12 weeks. So, about 6 weeks in to dieting, which with my dieting, I didn't have a coach I honestly didn't have a coach until last year, when I finally caved in and was able to afford one and and all that stuff. But anyways, I remember my friend kind of dieted me a little bit. She gave me some macros, which to this day, I don't eat macros. I just like meal plans. I'm more of a meal plan kind of girl than a macro kind of girl. I just like to be told what to eat and I just eat it. You know, I don't want to have to figure out how much protein I need to eat in this meal and all that crap. So my husband kind of helped me out even more. Honestly, he didn't really know what he was doing either, but he did, being in the military and also just him being an athlete himself. He was like, "Well, I know how to get how to get you lead. You just have to commit." Now that's the hardest part for any first time bodybuilder. It's not necessarily the stage, getting on stage or any of that stuff. Most people are able to determine whether it's for them or not if they're able to stick to the diet. So getting to the gym's not the hard part. Doing your cardio sucks, but it's not the hard part. It's sticking to a diet for X amount of time, and that's where a lot of people fail, which is super unfortunate because I've seen several people make so much progress, and then right when it gets hard, right when it gets to that point where your life sucks, they cave, and it's like, ugh, why? And anyway, so I went ahead and did that diet, and I lost, like, I mean, I had already lost a lot of weight. I put on muscle, but I still had lost, like, I think I had lost like 20 pounds for that show. I went ahead and I did Big Sky Champions in Montana, and I did figure for the first and last time. I took fourth place. Actually, oh, super great backstory on this, okay? Oh, no, no, no. This was, you know what? I'm so sorry. I need to back up. It was not Big Sky. It was actually Spokane, and this is important. I'm going to tell you why. It was Spokane, Washington. It was called Night of the Champions. Very good, big, well known show here in the PNW, which is actually where I'm stationed now, which is super crazy. This whole story is actually really cool. So, anyways, I did figure. this is where I met my great friend that I keep talking about, Lindsay. I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but so we had done figure, and I don't think she didn't realize my story at the time. That I had literally crushed. So I didn't even know what I was, because she's there. She looks so amazing with her coach and her friends, and here I am. Here's this girl just by herself, not a clue what I'm doing. Like I didn't even know if I did my own. My husband did my tan. I was so nervous that the tan wasn't even right. Like the whole thing was just, what am I even doing here? I don't even know why I'm even here. Like, but I said I was gonna be here, so here I am. But I met Lindsay. Her and I competed against each other actually, and I remember taking fourth place in figure, I believe, novice. Yeah, and then I took fifth in open, and Lindsay was like third and fourth or something, like I don't remember. But the thing is, the whole thing was just crazy. We couldn't figure out what the deal was. Like, 'cause we looked really good. I actually felt like I looked really good considering I had never had opposing coach. Not I dieted myself. Definitely cheated a couple of times because I was still new to the whole dieting thing. So I didn't. I mean, I committed, but I didn't like. I still had my cheats. I'm not gonna lie. And soon after talking to after the show was done and over with, and talking to the judges, they told me, listen. And I'll never forget Sandy. This is the first time I met Sandy. Everyone knows Sandy. She didn't know me. I didn't know her at the time, but she just basically said, I understand that you're upset about your placing. I understand that you look great. And you were one of the bigger, more. My abs are ridiculous. It's just some. I don't even. They're really good quality about me, which I'm grateful for. However, in figure, that's just not quite what they were looking for. The same thing with my legs were just a little too big, and this was me like lean. Couple different things. Shoulders were a little too were I think it was just I don't even know. My proportions were just not quite bigger, but not quite physique at the time, because keep in mind I had only been lifting for like a year and a half and just recently started like sculpting. And I remember her saying to me, I really think that you will succeed in women's physique. And at first, I didn't even know what that was. Like I said, I didn't know much about bodybuilding. I'm like, what's that? Then I remember, like, I knew what it was. I just didn't know, like, just how, like extreme, like all the different poses and the routine. Like, I just didn't know really about that. And I remember her saying, you have some work to do. You really have some work to do. You need to bring up, your legs, your hamstrings for sure. You need to, your lats need to definitely get bigger. Bring up your shoulders, like tighten up your core. Your core's too blocky. You're way too much of a turtle shell. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking this is a lot of critiques for telling me I'm going to be good in women's physique. Like, I basically what you're saying is I need to change everything about me. And I said, I'm funny, I like to joke around. So I kind of said that, and she was like, "Well, essentially yes, but no." I talked to her and the other panel of judges, and they just kind of explained to me, the potential that they saw in me, and that kind of was super motivating to me because I am a competitor and I love to do better and I love to succeed, and give me a challenge, challenge accepted. And they said, I would really like to see you at Big Sky. This is why I got them confused. Big Sky was only, gosh, 6 months later or something. It was a while later. At this point, I had already PCS and moved to Washington, which is where I'm at now. So it was like 6 months or so later. I was actually prepping during our move, which is very challenging. But basically, long story short, I accepted their challenge more or less, and I worked on all the areas that they said I needed to work on. I educated myself a lot. I spent just as much time educating myself on the sport, on women's physique, on the anatomy of my body. I became, at that point, after being on stage, even though that obviously wasn't the spot for me in figure, I definitely knew that was something I wanted to do again. Didn't know if I would be the way I am now, like so passionate, and all that. But I definitely knew I liked it, and I was super curious to know how I would do in women's physique in comparison to others. And I remember telling her, even specifically telling Sandy, you know, I thought I was gonna be like too small. Like I haven't even been lifting for very long. Like she's like, yeah, but like genetics are, a big deal. And the way that your genetics are, I think it's super easy to tell like someone that's been an athlete or I mean a cheerleader or a dancer or something, just how graceful they are, the stage presence, how your body is shaped up. Like I naturally have calves, just from being on ballet,
Lucky.
points for so I know I've been on point for so long, so I had developed calves. My core, my waist is small, but I have a bigger upper body. These are things I had no idea were so important in women's physique. I spent 6 months doing that, and I flew from Washington to Montana, and I did do Big Sky. And sure enough, Sandy was there. The rest of the panel of judges were there. And I actually took home first place in women's open. And also I won the overall as well as best posing routine, which is
Ooh.
super exciting for me because I've actually never I'm a dancer at heart, so that's my favorite part of the entire Like when I found out women's physique got to do a routine, I was sold. I was like that, and they don't have to wear high heels. Definitely count me in. Count me in. I'm in. And at that point, forward, this kind of brings us to where we're at now. It just skyrocketed from there for me. Went ahead and did another show, which was here in Washington called Washington State Open. And then just last year, I just did the Emerald Cup. And currently, I am in the process now of, well, I'm still in my improvement season, but I am going to be starting prep in January because I decided. So this is kind of silly. So I'll be like 4 times nationally qualified or some or five. I don't even know, five times. I don't know because I never get to go to nationals before my card expires. So I have to keep requalifying. It's so frustrating. All I wanted to do was just prep and go to Junior USA's, which is going to be in North Carolina this in 2019. That's where I'm going to be going to hopefully potentially earn my pro card. But the thing is my qualification expires in April, and the show is in May. It's literally expired by like 4 weeks or 3 weeks. So what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and do the Emerald Cup again. It's the biggest show in the whole Pacific Northwest. A lot of people fly in to do this show. It's a really great show that they put on. It's a lot of great vendors. Just in general, the whole show is a good show. So hopefully, the goal is to go and win the overall at the Emerald Cup, so that way I can fly 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later or so, and go to Junior USA's in North Carolina. Obviously, that's the goal. We're all in it to win it.